He thinks it's the way you move, the way you touch, maybe even what you say, but what really drives a man crazy? It's not what you do, it's what you feel in the moment right before he finishes. Most women miss it, but if you get this part right, he'll never forget you, and he won't even know why he's so hooked. Let me show you the secret most don't talk about, but every man craves deep down. Most people assume that for men, physical intimacy is all about the act itself, the physical pleasure, the build-up, the climax. But the truth is, many men are emotionally starving, even in moments when they're supposed to be most fulfilled. They walk through life carrying this quiet hunger to be seen, to be valued for more than what they provide, and to feel like the moment they're sharing with someone is more than just physical. It's personal. Right before a man reaches his peak, that's the moment when he's at his most vulnerable, whether he realizes it or not. His guard is down, the masks fall off, and for a brief few seconds the world narrows down to the two of you, and what you do in that exact moment matters more than you think. This is the window where connection becomes unforgettable. When you look at him, not just with desire, but with that emotional warmth that says, I see you, it activates a part of his brain that rarely gets stimulated in intimate situations. It's no longer just about chemistry, it becomes about meaning. In a world where everything is rushed, where attention is divided between screens and tasks and stress, that one moment of full presence is powerful. It creates something sacred. And when you, as a woman, use that moment to reach him, not just touch him, it burns into his memory. It doesn't need to be a speech or a dramatic act. It could be as simple as gently placing your hand on his chest, or whispering something that affirms his importance, or even just locking eyes with complete emotional presence. That's when it flips. That's when it becomes more than sex. It becomes bonding. Men don't usually get that. They get performance, they get excitement, but rarely do they get connection. That's why it stands out when you do it. That's why they remember you, because you didn't just participate, you emotionally showed up. Most men don't know how to ask for this. They won't say, I want to feel loved in that moment. They'll just keep seeking it in other ways. They'll chase validation, attention, even distract, but the woman who makes him feel something more right before the climax is the one who sticks in his head, because she offered something rare, and rare things aren't just desired, they're treasured. Even if he can't explain it, he'll come back to you, he'll crave your energy, he'll say there's something about you he can't quite explain. That something isn't just how you look or what you do in bed, it's how you made him feel. Not just physically, but emotionally. And he may not talk about it. He might not even realize how deep it hit him. But his actions will tell the story. He'll reach out more. He'll check in more. He'll want to see you again, even if he doesn't fully understand why. And the truth is, it's because in the moment he expected pleasure, he found connection. In the moment he expected escape, he felt seen. And when you give that to a man, you don't just become memorable, you become magnetic. Most women don't realize they have this power. They think men are too simple, too physical, but men are far more emotionally complex than society gives them credit for. And when you tap into that emotional layer, especially in a moment when he's wide open, you create something no one else can compete with. There's a powerful shift that happens in a man when he feels truly validated by the woman he's with, especially in the middle of intimacy. So many men carry unspoken insecurities about whether they're doing it right, whether they're enough, whether they're actually desirable to the person in front of them. Society has trained them to act confident, to perform well, to focus on giving pleasure, to take the lead. But very few men are ever told they're doing a good job in that vulnerable, raw moment. They're expected to just know. That's why when you say the right thing just before he finishes, when you affirm him in the heat of the moment, it strikes him in a place deeper than lust. It feels like emotional gold, because it's not just about what's happening physically, it's about what your words tell him emotionally, that he's seen, that he's enough, that what he's doing is having an impact on you. It can be something as simple as telling him how good he makes you feel, or how much you love the way he touches you. It doesn't have to be a long sentence, or anything rehearsed. But when those words come from a place of truth and intensity, when they feel spontaneous, real, and emotionally charged, it creates a surge of pride and power in him that's far more potent than any physical climax alone. It gives him confirmation in real time that he's not just another guy in your life, he's someone who can truly please you, someone who matters. That feeling becomes addictive because it feeds something deeper than ego. It feeds his desire to feel significant in your world. You have to understand how rare that is. Most women assume men are flooded with compliments and appreciation when it comes to sex, but the reality is very different. So many men have only ever been measured by performance metrics, how long they last, how hard they go, how often they initiate. That creates a quiet pressure in them to perform, not to connect. And that pressure keeps them from ever truly relaxing into the moment. But when you interrupt that cycle with just a few honest words of affirmation, you lower his guard. He stops performing and starts feeling. That switch flips everything. Suddenly he's not just focused on finishing, he's connected to the emotional atmosphere you're creating around him. It becomes a shared experience, not a race to the finish line. And in that moment, he doesn't just feel like a man, he feels like your man. There's a big difference between being desired and being wanted in a way that makes you feel uniquely capable. That's the kind of validation that lingers long after the night ends. When you speak directly to his efforts, to what he's doing right, how he's making you feel, the way he's affecting you, it becomes more than praise. It becomes intimacy. Because praise, when timed right, isn't just about stroking the ego, it's about building trust. It says, I see you, I appreciate this, I'm not just here for myself, I'm here with you. And most men don't get that kind of language in bed. They get moans, sure. They get reactions, but they don't often get words that reach their emotional core. When you use your voice to lift him in that crucial moment, to validate his presence, his effort, and his impact on you, you become unforgettable. Because you've done what most people never think to do. You've made intimacy not just about sex, but about significance. You've spoken to his deepest need in a moment where he was already wide open. And once a man gets a taste of that kind of validation, he'll chase that feeling again and again. There's something electric that happens when a woman brings vulnerability into a moment that's typically all about stimulation and physicality. Most men aren't used to vulnerability during sex. In fact, they've been conditioned to believe that intimacy is a time to prove, to perform, to dominate, or to deliver, not to open up, not to soften. So when a woman does something unexpected, when she leans into sincerity, softness, or reveals a tender thought right before he finishes, it disrupts that usual script, and in the best way possible. It catches him off guard in a moment when he's already stripped of all distractions. That's when his heart hears things more clearly than his mind ever could. It's in those seconds when he's the most present, the most in his body, the most emotionally porous, that you have the rarest opportunity to leave a deep impression, not through seduction, but through emotional truth. It could be something as simple as whispering, I feel so close to you right now, or I love how safe I feel with you, or I've never felt this way before. It doesn't have to be dramatic or rehearsed, it just has to be real. And what makes it powerful is that you're allowing him to witness your vulnerability while he's at his most vulnerable. That kind of mirroring hits differently. It's not what he's expecting. He may have come into the moment thinking about pleasure, but now he's experiencing something deeper. Now there's emotional context, and men crave that more than they admit, because real vulnerability, when done right, makes them feel trusted. And when a man feels trusted, he connects. It reaches past the physical and anchors something in his emotional memory. Most men don't get that kind of intimacy. They might have sex, they might have passion, but they rarely get to feel emotionally bonded during it. That's what makes you unforgettable, not just because of what you did, but because of how you made him feel. You made him feel like a man who can be safe with a woman. That doesn't happen often, especially in a world that constantly tells men to toughen up, be stoic and hide their emotion. But in the moment before he finishes, his guard is naturally down, his heart is closer to the surface. And if you meet him there, if you give him a taste of emotional softness at just the right time, it unlocks something in him that he can't get from casual sex or even long-term relationships that lack emotional awareness. A lot of women believe they have to play a role in bed to keep a man's attention, be exciting, be skilled, be confident. And while those things have their place, what makes him come back, what makes him feel something he can't easily shake off, is the experience of vulnerability. That moment where he sees a different side of you, one that isn't performing, one that isn't trying to impress, one that's just there, honest and present. That's the moment that shifts him from just being physically attracted to being emotionally tethered. And it's subtle. It's not about grand gestures. It's in the breath, the look, the tone of your voice. It's in the way you let your guard down right as he's about to lose control. That mix of emotional softness with physical intensity is what creates the kind of memory he won't forget. Even if he doesn't have the words for it, he'll feel it in his body, in his chest, in the quiet moments afterward when he can't stop thinking about what just happened. That's not chemistry, that's emotional resonance, and once he's felt it with you, he'll feel the absence of it with anyone else. Eye contact is often underestimated, especially in moments of high intensity. Most people assume it's just a detail, a silent exchange, maybe a side note to the bigger experience happening between two people. But in truth, when timed right, especially right before a man finishes, it becomes the anchor to the entire emotional experience. It's one of the most powerful, silent ways to say, I'm here, I see you, and I feel this with you. And the reason men go crazy for it is because it's not just about what's happening physically. It's about feeling emotionally caught in the moment, wrapped in your attention, grounded by your presence. When you hold his gaze, not casually, but with depth, intention, and connection, it tells his nervous system something he rarely hears during sex, that he's not alone in this, that the moment is mutual, alive, shared, and real. In that final stretch before he finishes, his body is flooded with sensations. His mind may be blurred, but his emotional sensitivity is at its peak. And when you meet him there, not just with your body, but with your eyes, you give him something to feel, not just something to experience. It's a magnetic pause in the middle of chaos. While everything else might be intense or fast or overwhelming, that one moment of locked eyes brings it back to something human, something intimate. You're not just partners in pleasure, you're sharing something that words can't fully capture. The way you look at him becomes a language. It tells him whether you're really with him or just performing, whether this is about connection or just contact. And when that look says, I'm here with you, it's unforgettable. There's something ancient and instinctive about eye contact. It bypasses the brain and goes straight to the heart. Babies look into their mother's eyes to feel safe. Lovers look at each other to feel known. When you use it at the right time, especially at the peak of intimacy, it creates a bond that words can't achieve. And most men don't get that. They get distracted glances. They get eyes closed, heads turned away, energy pulled elsewhere. But when you offer unwavering eye contact, you give him a direct line to your presence. That kind of attention makes him feel chosen. And more than that, it makes him feel understood. He doesn't have to ask if you're feeling something too. He can see it. He can feel it in the way your gaze doesn't flinch, doesn't hide. Even in relationships where sex happens often, eye contact like this is rare. That's why when you do it with intention, it stands out. It's burned into his mind. Because it breaks through all the noise. You're not just someone who shared a night with him. You're someone who shared that moment. A moment where time felt suspended. Where everything aligned. Where the physical met the emotional in perfect rhythm. And for many men, that becomes the moment they replay in their minds. Not just the physical release, but the look you gave him as he lost control. Because in that look, he felt seen. In that look, he found trust. And in that look, he experienced a kind of closeness that can't be manufactured. It has to be real. And when it is, it's addictive. Eye contact is simple, but it's not small. It's a gesture that says everything without needing to say a word. When done at the right moment, it creates a mark on his memory that outlasts anything physical. It becomes the reason he remembers you, the reason he comes back, the reason he starts to wonder if what you share might be something deeper than just attraction, because somewhere in the way you looked at him, he found a version of himself that felt strong, safe, and completely connected to you. There's a massive difference between someone who's physically there and someone who's emotionally present. Men can tell. Even if they don't say it out loud, they can feel when a woman is just going through the motions versus when she's actually with them in the moment. And nothing drives a man crazier in the best possible way than a woman who is fully present right before he finishes. Because in that moment, all of his senses are heightened, his body is alive, his emotions are peaking, and if he senses that you are right there with him, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and energetically, it creates a high that goes beyond anything physical. Presence doesn't mean you're performing some wild act or trying to impress him. It's actually the opposite. It means you've dropped the need to do and instead you've chosen to feel. You're in tune with what's happening between the two of you. You're not distracted, not in your head, not faking reactions or wondering how you look. You're letting yourself experience it, and he can feel that. It's in your breath, your touch, your rhythm, the way your body responds without trying. And when he feels that, he doesn't just feel turned on, he feels connected. That's the moment he starts to fall for you without even realizing it, because he knows that what he just experienced with you was rare, not because of some technique, but because of the energy you brought to it. Men are used to being desired for what they can give, for how they perform. But when he's with a woman who is clearly enjoying the moment for herself, when her enjoyment is real and present and uninhibited, it changes everything. It becomes a shared experience, not a service. And it makes him feel wanted in a different way. Not like he's being used to satisfy someone else's idea of intimacy, but like he's a part of something mutual, something authentic. That's what presence gives him, a sense of belonging in that moment. You don't need to speak, moan louder, or put on a show. You just need to be in it. Look at him, touch him with intention, breathe with him, Let your body respond naturally, not because you're trying to impress him, but because you're letting yourself be moved. That honesty in your presence is what pulls him in. It tells him this isn't just sex. This is you, fully here, sharing this with him. That kind of presence is intoxicating because it's real, and in a world filled with distractions, fake reactions, and emotional distance, real presence is the rarest thing of all. When you give him that, right before he finishes, it leaves a deeper mark than anything else, because for a few seconds he felt something that goes beyond lust. He felt like he mattered, like he was connecting with someone who wasn't trying to be perfect, but who was just there, and that's the kind of experience he won't forget. So when people ask what makes a man truly obsessed, it's not just about technique, timing, or fantasy. It's about how you make him feel in those split seconds when he's the most open. It's about the energy you bring right before he finishes, the emotional connection, the genuine affirmation, the unexpected vulnerability, the intensity of your eye contact, the way you are fully, unapologetically present. These aren't tricks, they're truths, and most men don't even know how badly they crave them until they feel them, but once they do, they can't unfeel it. They start to associate you with a depth they didn't know they were missing, and that's what makes you unforgettable. Not because you tried to impress him, but because you reached him. Not just in his body, but in his heart. That's what makes a man go crazy. That's what makes him come back, not for the performance, but for the realness he only ever felt with you.